Hi, it's Trevor Smith, President of Incline Village Realtors, and I'm here with Thomas Blanchard, who is the current president of the Las Vegas Realtors down in Southern Nevada. So I thought we would talk about a few things, see what's going on in the state, talk to Tom about his perspectives, where we are in Southern Nevada. I'll give you some insights in Northern Nevada, and maybe even talk about market trends. I guess loans are a big issue, but I'll let Tom take it from here.
Well, take it from here is a big thing. It's such a huge thing that we're all going through. The biggest thing I want to try to get out, like I just put out a Facebook post a little bit earlier ago. We're almost through this. We're halfway there, and it's it's always darkest before the dawn. It stops 90% of the way there. Just give us an extra 10%, and we'll make it there. But look, we're essential. Housing is essential. Housing. There's no community that hasn't been built by housing. We're essential to maintaining a community, and housing is essential to restarting a community. And I am so grateful to know that we're almost through this, and no matter what goes on in the next 2 weeks or 3 or even 4, if it's really, really bad, that there is an end to this. And from there, we can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. But I just want you to know that, what we do, you and I and everybody else here that's listening to this, we are the catalyst of what is going to make this whole economy, not only in Las Vegas, in Incline Village, in Reno and Carson City, but across the whole United States, that is going to roll out and be bigger, better, huger than we could ever imagine. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be some bumps, and it may be a little slow for some people. And there's going to be some doubters, and there's going to be some haters, as there always are. But just know that this will end. It's a flippin' virus. Okay, you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it. It's a virus that stopped an economy that the world has never seen, and look, terrorists have tried for years and years and years to try to do something that this damn little thing did. And the Strip, I mean, you guys see it up there in Incline. The Strip is flipping closed. It's dark. I mean, never in anybody's life could you ever imagine to see the Strip closed at night, businesses shuttered. I mean, the zombie apocalypse couldn't even come up with something, as imaginative as what's actually happening in real life. So with that premise, let's talk about what's happening in real estate down here in Vegas. And, I don't know about you, but transactions are happening. People are listing their houses. People are selling their houses. Deals are going into escrow. The way we're doing it is completely different, but that's okay, because we as realtors and we as human beings, we adapt, we overcome, and we do what we need to do to make things happen. So what else do you want to know? That's my, I've been sort of pent up lately because, being at home, I mean, I love my wife, I love my son more than anything in the world, but being at home, watching Netflix for 24 hours a day is a little bit much. So it's nice to be out and in my gray office, in my squeaky chair, being able to talk to another person, communicating for a while, because my office is completely empty.
Thank God for Zoom. Yeah, no, and obviously part of the reason I wanted to talk to you is we have different perspectives. I totally agree with everything you said about, restarting the economy and real estate being the catalyst for that, without a doubt. I mean, the housing market generates so much. I mean, my younger brother, you may know, my whole family's in real estate, but my younger brother builds a bunch of houses on the California side. So, he said the one side effect of all this, believe it or not, on the construction side, which actually is a positive, now there's a ton of labor, which is unusual, right? If you go back 2 months ago, you couldn't get anyone, right? Because there was everybody's busy, materials were hard to come by. Obviously that's still a challenge, but I wanted to get your perspective on what's happening in your market. I'll give you some of my thoughts about, what's happening in Northern Nevada, but I think what might be of value is, obviously the two of us have a ton of experience in this. Nobody's been through this specific situation, but as the leaders of our organizations, we have to be the beacon of light, for everyone. And I live in a bubble, right? I'm in Lake Tahoe, totally different than where you are, but your perspective is useful to me. So I wanted to kind of see, what are your challenges right now in your marketplace?
Oh, well, the challenges are the fact that, over 200 and some odd thousand people aren't working.
Yeah.
Over 200,000 people got taken out of the buyer pool, that, can't be qualifying for a loan. Over 200,000 people are going to have to try to explain down the road, when they try to buy a house in the future, what happened during these 3-month period, or whatever it takes for them, the time that they lost their job to the time that they start their job up again. What happened? A letter of explanation. What's going to happen? How are the lenders going to figure out how to deal with this pause of the economy? How are we going to deal with that going forward? It's not so much what the issue is right now, because look, let's face it. If you were in the market to buy a house, you already had your money, right? You're not just earning the money right now to buy a house. So let's face it. If you were looking to buy a house, or if you're looking to sell a house, you're already doing it. This pause is not causing you not to buy a house or to sell a house, because you're able to do that. So it's those folks that in the future are either going to have to figure out what they're going to do. The renters, holy mackerel, that's an issue. What's going to happen when the moratorium comes off, and people that sort of took advantage of the situation and decided not to pay their rent? I'm working for Renters Warehouse as the broker in Nevada, and right now nationwide we're at about 88% rents collected for April. We're probably looking at 90 to 93%. So 7% of the rents probably won't get collected, which isn't too bad. It's about average. So April is rather normal. May be a separate issue. It's sort of hard to tell. We'll see when that comes about. But I expect when the moratorium gets lifted that there may be a little bit of some musical chairs with that 7 to 10% of renters that are taking advantage of the situation. And let me also say, there are some of the renters that have been impacted. And those that have been impacted, I hope are taking full advantage of making sure that they're getting the unemployment insurance, those that have the ability to get PPP, the CARES Act, all of those things. There's plenty of free money out there, free money assistance out there. But one thing that comes with free money is that it's not always easy to get a hold of. You know, free and easy are two separate things. And I hope people that are out there that have been affected by this are not just sitting on their couches watching Netflix all day and just expecting checks to, you know, show up in their mailbox. That's not going to happen. They need to be working to get their checks and be able to get the assistance needed. In other words, being on, you know, their computers and getting onto the unemployment insurance thing to be able to being on the phone. Yes, you may have to be on the phone 8 hours, but what else do you have to do if you're unemployed but to be on the phone for 8 hours trying to get through? My goodness, you know, I have empathy and sympathy for that, but you know, you can't sit there and cry about it on one hand and not do something about it on the other. So
Totally agree with you. Well, we feel for, you know, I'm a landlord as well. You probably are also, but it's, you know, I feel for my tenants, and my tenants actually, well, they haven't paid the rent yet this month, but I think they will. But, you know, I'm more than willing to help them regardless of government assistance. I mean, who cares about that? I want, you know, you have to be people and be compassionate at the end of the day. Let me ask you this: where do you think is this now? Obviously, you said that there's transactions going on. That's our experience up in Tahoe as well. You know, we don't have our market always transitions going into the summer, so we have all these people that are thinking about selling, and you know, this is more about timing, like time of year kind of thing. But what is this? Is this affecting the pricing in your marketplace? Is it, you know, has the total number of transactions dipped? I mean, tell me where you are on that stuff.
you know, it's still a little bit too early to tell on pricing. I'm on record saying that I think it will. I know the activity in some areas in our activities as far as showings across the nation, as far as what Renters Warehouse has seen across the nation, we've seen like a 35% dip in activity in showings for, you know, rentals across the nation. That's bounced back already. We took a dip immediately with the shutter, wherever the shuttering was, there was a dip, and now it's come back. I expect to potentially see some pricing pressure because of the potential buyer pools going down a little bit. But you know, I see a lot. The activity that I'm seeing as far as people putting on their houses on the market is pretty good. So I don't know. It's, you know, we have so much activity, and it goes back to what I said before. The people that were able to buy and sell, this really didn't affect them. It may have put some people that really were sort of looking on the sidelines. So those looky-loo deals maybe are the ones that got pulled off. But if you were seriously needed to buy or needed to sell, you're doing it. So
I totally agree with you. I mean, I think there could be a price effect, whether it's rental or sale. But I haven't seen it yet. And again, I'm in a bubble here because I'm in a affluent second home market. So to some degree, my people are somewhat insulated, but they're all collectively part of the same group, right? I mean, so. Yeah,
but, and so, you know, I'm hearing like the jumbo market is like supposedly being killed or squeezed. Are you seeing anything of that up there? I mean,
I lost a deal. There was a Bank of America deal, oddly enough, and we bank with them. So I'm talking about my bank, but not my personal loan, but a deal we had that was a jumbo, and long story short, they came back with terms that were so ridiculous. It was basically like a rejection, right? They didn't want to do it. The interest rate was so low. The interest rate was 2%. They were borrowing maybe 900,000. And they said, well, we're not going to give you 900. We'll give you 600 if you pay off this other loan you have for 900,000. It's like, you're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Why would I bother? And these people have cash. So I think what it does is it pushes the cash people forward, in my experience. So right now the offers we're negotiating are cash deals. Now there comes as a side effect, right? Those people always think they're always deal hunters, right? They're going to get a discount or they're going to get better terms or whatever. And so even people that I had that were 3 or 4 months ago were going to get a loan that are now cash, they're now thinking, what's the factor? What's the discount factor? How am I going to get this deal done? And how do and I'm not saying they're anticipating a price drop, but they want to be sure that they bought something right? And so they're looking for opportunities. And in my market, I don't see a ton of opportunities because there's so much pressure and there's so little inventory, meaning the pressure is from all the people that have cash, right? Which a lot of people in our market have a lot of cash. And, their retirement account got wiped out or whatever. That doesn't matter. That's not what they're living on. That's not what they use for operating capital. And, to some of those people, it's pause, right? And to others, it's all right, now I'm in. Now the opportunity should be here. Now I'm going to call Trevor or Tom and say, what do you have for me that is worthwhile, right? Where are the deals? Show me where the deals are. And so there is a lot of pressure for that, but right now I don't have, I may have 1 or 2 opportunities coming in the next 6 months, but I don't see this as like a, market slide where we saw in 2008 or something like that, where we're all of a sudden going to have, bank-owned inventory, short sales. I'm not saying we won't have any, but I think it'll be very, very, very small percentage of our market.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a little bit more interest in investment purchases if they show up. But most of those hedge funds and the like are waiting for the banks down the road to deal with any backwash from what happens, during this time, to just deal with it in the back rooms. I don't think there's any appetite for any kind of public display of having REOs hitting the public streets. That will all be dealt with behind the scenes. And as you saw, what we all saw was a shadow inventory that was there. There was a shadow inventory, and all of a sudden it all disappeared into hedge funds accounts. So I think that book's been written, and we'll continue to see that go. I don't see the mom and pops being able to buy REOs and hit the public streets the way it was back in 2008 and 9, 10. So, that's what I see with that part. But, what I also want to talk about, because I did see for the PPP, I wanted to talk about, for a lot of realtors, I've been seeing everybody's talking about this $10,000. Normal realtors, it's just themselves. There's no $10,000.
Right. The idle
there's
loan.
A grant.
Right.
It's a grant. And to get that grant, you got to do some work for it. You got to fill out some paperwork, which includes, 2018, 2019 federal time. I'm reading off a form, so it's not that I have this stuff memorized. Right? I'll start at the top because I have a list. A calculation sheet, a payroll protection program application form, a CARES Act loan prep sheet, a 2018, 2019 federal tax filings, a 940 form from your 2020 filing, a 941. If you have employees, you have a 941 for the 4 quarters, and then we get more money than the $1,000. Copy your business license, payroll reports, documentation reflecting if you had health insurance, if you had employees, and documentation of retirement plan if you have employees. So it's a lot of paperwork. So, again, there is free money out there, but on the other hand, you got to work for it, free, but you got to work. It ain't easy. So I know there's, politicians love to be able to say they've done something for the folks out there.
No doubt.
A
lot of this is show, by the way, in my opinion. I mean, it's, you're going to get your $1,200. You can get an EIDL loan. You can get the PPP. You can get unemployment. Maybe.
Yeah. So, so just be, it's there. They try to do, there's a lot of people in this country, and $2 trillion sounds like a lot of money. $2 billion sounds like a lot of money to you and I, but when you try to spread it out and to all of us, it whittles down real quick.
No doubt.
So,
well, listen, there's a great SBA update, some guidelines, and I can simplify it for you. I just did a video on the for independent contractors. Let's say most realtors. Okay, I'm not structured this way, but if let's say I'm either sole proprietor, a single solo LLC, or any of the things that would fall under what they consider self-employed, it's pretty simple. You take your Schedule C, line 31, and that's the number you need. Okay, now, if you haven't filed 2019, that's the one they're going to rely on. You can send them a draft 2019. As long as you're going to file that, you still have to do all the calculations and all that, but it's based on that. It's not based on the last 12 months. It's based just on the Schedule C, and they said they did make a determination. It's just 2019 at this point. So it's greatly simplified there. Now, the bummer is if you're self-employed, you're not going to get any of the stuff that I file as a LLC file as an S Corp. I can write off or I can include in the calculation the health insurance and the retirement. But for the self-employed, they didn't want that. The SBA felt that was a windfall for self-employed, right? That was double dipping or whatever they want to call it, but they got rid of that. So it's just your Schedule C income. And it really is that simple. It's, there's not, unless you're paying now, it is possible too that you could have employees off of that same Schedule C, and then you would be able to take the full deduction. So whatever you pay them, plus their benefits, plus their health insurance, all that stuff. So, but that determination was very recent. I think it was actually yesterday. And, it's very confusing, Tom. I mean, I applied for it. I've been on all this stuff, whether I'm going to take the money or not, I want to see if I can get it.
Right.
Part of the reason I'm doing it is to see how difficult it is so I can guide our membership through it and maybe other realtors. There's a couple of great CPAs that I'm following that have a wealth of information that are reading, they understand all those details. Obviously, I'm not a CPA, so I'm trying not to give people tax advice, but I am trying to help them navigate it as a realtor and give them some chance to, maybe get the money, stay in the business longer, survive this, and come out on the other end where you and I both think this is going, because I think there will be a pent-up demand once we get whatever that date is, whether it's a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever. When our market restarts, I think there's going to be a flurry of activity. And, in the interim, I am very concerned about fixing the jumbo loans. I'm working with Mark Amadei's office, and just so that too, they've been extremely responsive, very, very helpful. I've been on the phone with them, a dozen times, and they're all over this. They're also working on the mortgage servicers, which is another issue, right? Those guys still have to make bond payments. Doesn't matter if there's a forbearance. I mean, they could cause a failure somewhere down the chain here that would have a major impact on our business and the economy in general. If the mortgage servicers fail, then, you call somebody that's servicing your loan, you can't get a forbearance because there's nobody there. But that's a major issue. So they're closing the loop on some things that they, either got taken out of the original CARES Act or should have been in from the day one. And, but I'm really, really thankful that Amadei's office has been so helpful. They've been really a tremendous resource. And I think they really have our interest at heart. And so I'm just, kudos to them, and I wanted to publicly thank them.
Yeah, and let me touch on that a little bit. And this is when in situations like this, where our RPAC dollars that we ask for every year, and we always keep asking for their investments in RPAC and PSF, Political Survival Fund, and people ask, well, why should I invest? You guys always choose Republican. I don't agree with your political choices, and it's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about the fact that we're able to go to our politicians and be able to say, hey, we need help on this. This
No
is
doubt.
a situation, that is unattainable. We can't keep going down this road. Governor Sisolak, we need to be essential. If we're not going to be essential, your economy's screwed, buddy. Come on. This can't continue on. You can't shut us down. We need to find another way. Okay, we won't talk to tenants. Get it. Got it. We won't talk to them. Okay? We understand they're a protected class right now. Got it. We won't have open houses. Okay, the only people holding open houses right now are for sale by owners. You got to figure out how to deal with those people yourselves, Governor Sisolak. We're doing the best we can. Those kind of conversations, they're having at the state level, but we're able to have those conversations because of the dollars that we've all been able to put into the RPAC, so that NAR is able to have their conversations with the President of the United States and all of them because of the dollars that we've given them. It's, we are now getting our dividends on the money that we've invested. And, this is why we've asked for those funds. And I hope those people that are listening, those realtors that are listening, please, 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 when we know times are tough right now, get it. That those that can do, and those that will. And thank you. So that's my quick pitch.
So do you have any final thoughts, any messages that you want to get out to the realtors around the state? And by the way, too, Teresa McGee and Tiffany Banks and all of our state leadership, your buddy Chris Bishop, have all done really well communicating with us, reaching out to us. There's a reason, Tom, that you and I are presidents right now, right? Because things are going to hell, right? I mean, this is the worst situation that any board president's been in our lifetimes.
Ever. Come on.
And so, you have to have a strong leader. I'm convinced that, you and I wouldn't be using Zoom right now if it wasn't for this, right? No. I mean, this is not something we would be doing. And, and creating a lot of content, helping our membership, trying to deliver positive messages, both to the public and to our membership, and keep people safe and keep it, keep the conversation smart, right? Don't panic. Don't, the sky isn't falling. This is something we can get through. We just need to stay home, stay safe, and we'll get through this.
Yeah, look, and being smart about it, remembering that we're all in this together. There is nothing good about this. It's been I never ever thought in my life that I'd have to deal with something like this, because who would have thought, that some damn virus would come and shut down the damn strip. It would shut down the whole country. And I'd have to be sitting there trying to figure out what to do. And people would look to us and say, do we use this form or do we do that form? Do we ask people to check their temperatures before they walk into a door? And it's like, let's break it down to something that is real simple. Does it make sense? is what my mantra is right now. We're almost through this, and does it make sense to come up with another form right now to protect something that is almost over with? And my honest answer is probably not.
Totally agree with you there. We've got plenty of forms.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, if the seller wants to show the house and the buyer wants to see the house, and you're doing all the protection that the governor wants you to do, you know, and you can't wait until after, this thing is over with, and it has to be done right now, and you can't come to an agreement with a contract and see it subject to, and your buyer's not happy with a virtual tour to write the contract, then show the house. But, we don't need to paper our butts all over the place. Come on. Let's make some common sense choices here, folks, and remember that we're all in this together, and we'll get through this, because all of this will pass, and we'll all be okay. That's
no doubt, Tom.
Like, I don't know how else it goes other than that.
Yeah, no, and I really thank you for your time, and we could go on for hours talking about all of the various issues, but sanity, I guess, is what you're saying. Let's be reasonable and be smart about it. That's all.
And remember that we're all in this together, buddy. You and I and everybody else.
No doubt. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon on YouTube.
All right. Thanks, Trevor.